Now, contending for the faith. In this regular feature, Dave and Tom respond to questions from listeners and readers of the Berean Call. Here's this week's question. Dear Dave and T.A., I've been a believer for quite a while, and I think I'm fairly knowledgeable about the Bible. Anyhow, I used to think you two were out of bounds when it came to being critical of so many well-known Christian leaders. But now I'm beginning to be as concerned as I thought you were, and I'm asking for your help. How should I deal with Christian writers and preachers that I have learned much from, but now see errors in certain things they teach? Should I drop them from my list of biblically edifying teachers if they endorse psychology or Calvinism or replacement theology or old earth creation or other beliefs I think are wrong?
First of all, he has a moral responsibility to at least communicate with these people, communicate his concerns, and to see what their reaction is. Maybe he can help them. Secondly, I think he or she, whoever this was, has a moral duty before God to, he or she probably knows some other people who are enamored with these teachers and who could be being led astray. So you need to help those people as well. But I think you need to bring some correction to these people. You give them their chance. It doesn't mean that they will pay attention to you, but at least you point out their error.
Dave, you probably heard people say, well, what you do is you learn how to separate the meat from the bones, okay? It's like fish. You don't you spit out the bones and you keep the meat. Can you say that with let's say a teacher whose certain areas you thought, wow, this is really good. This content, this information is terrific, but I don't buy that.
Tom, generally, it's a little worse than meat and bones. It corrupts the meat. The bones aren't just something you can pull out generally, because everything is interrelated. Mm-hmm. I don't know. We would have to have specifics, but I think you still have a moral duty to try to bring correction to this person.
Yeah, well, you fish a lot, and so do I, Dave, and some fish have mercury. So whether they have bones and meat, sometimes the mercury can do you in. So yeah. I agree with you. I think discernment, there are certainly teachers out there that I don't agree 100% with, and I'm edified by much of their teaching, but I just reject some, particularly, this person mentioned psychology. We have seen so many preachers and teachers have just missed the boat on this. They don't recognize how detrimental a promotion of psychology or pastors who refer their sheep basically out to so-called Christian psychologists and psychotherapists or secular psychiatrists, licensed. What I'm talking about is licensed practitioners, which is dead wrong, absolutely dead wrong.
Well, we did a whole series on that, I guess, Tom. And anyone that is interested could get it, could receive it.
We have a book coming out, hopefully early next year, on psychology in the church.
Right.
But still, there are some I can be blessed by their teaching in some areas, but in other ways I've just either avoided or rejected.
Well, Tom, if I can't think of an example. You're being very generous now, I think, of someone who is really into Christian psychology, who then has anything to offer that I would be blessed by, because I don't know. There may be some out there. It would seem reasonable that there should be. Psychology shouldn't pervade everything they teach, but generally it does. That's the tragedy. This becomes the lens through which they now look at Scripture. This becomes their guide for Christian living, and they pretty much get it all from there. And by the way, as we point out in that book, Tom, who brought Christian psychology into the church? Norman Vincent Peale. And most people listening, I hope, would know what a horrible heretic he was.
Mm-hmm.
And he is the one who brought it into the church. And by the way, for decades, the entire evangelical church stood against it, refused. But Peale persisted.
Mm-hmm.
And
and his theology was primarily religious science, mind science, and so on. But he's accepted as a Christian by people who are just not discerning.
yeah.
Dave, I'm talking to you, but I'm really talking to our audience and listeners. The name of the program is Search the Scriptures Daily.
Mm-hmm.
If the Apostle Paul, if Luke commends these Jews in a synagogue in the Greek city of Berea for checking out the Apostle Paul, how much more then should we check out teachers who become favorites of ours, or preachers, Christian leaders?
Well, that's the point. We are measuring them against the Bible.
Mm-hmm.
They search the Scriptures daily to see whether what Paul taught was true.
And we want people to do the same with us, right?
Absolutely. So now back to the question. We find someone who their teaching has really edified us, but they've got other things that are dead wrong.
Mm-hmm.
What do? We can't mix them, of course. We can't set that aside, pick out the bones and so forth. No, we have to confront them, but we have to be very, very careful that we don't get trapped into this sort of thing ourselves. I just think of the words of Paul to Timothy, 2 Timothy 4. Preach the word, reprove, rebuke, exhort with all long-suffering and doctrine. For the time will come when they will not endure sound doctrine. So, Tom, that's the obligation laid upon us by Scripture, and that's what we will do as God gives us the strength and the insight to do it.
For more information about the Berean Call, call us toll-free at our order number or visit our website